What's up, YouTube? How's it going? I don't really have anything funny or super entertaining to say right now. Just got back from the gym, having a cup of coffee, and decided that I might try to do something it's that probably should have been done like 3 years ago, but I just was never able to do it. And to me, the whole tell my story deal was overwhelming, especially to me. I think because at the time I was so dead set on trying to express the emotion behind it all, and it just overwhelmed me to try to go to an attorney, a lawyer, or anybody to speak about it. So I'm just gonna kind of tell, I guess, what happened, but understand that there's a lot left out, and if I do decide to get legal counseling, uh, I don't know. I guess I guess I'll have to explain that it's not as simple as it sounds. But you know, basically, what happened to me a couple years ago, and I guess this is going to have to be the long story short, and I'm also going to do it in portions. I'm not going to tell the whole thing straight through. Main reason is I'm just not capable of doing that. I'll just my attention span is not that long. And secondly, I don't think anybody wants to watch a whole like 2 hour video of me sitting here dryly stating what happened to me. Or maybe you do. Anyways, years ago I went to see a doctor, a resident doctor. I didn't, at the time, I was ignorant. I didn't realize that a university hospital had students running the show. I should have. It never dawned on me that's how things work. I always thought that they were just doctors. So that's mistake number one, I guess I made. But they help a lot of people. They didn't help me. See, there I go again, rambling the emotional part. Anyways, I went to see a doctor to just simply establish a relationship with a doctor, to get, I don't want to say the medications, maybe at the end I will, but to get, just to establish a relationship with the doctor. And when I went there, they were, and I guess universities do this, they wanted to offer me a different medicine because they were trying to say that they think it's something else. So they basically told me I had general anxiety disorder. I think that's just something they were labeling everybody that came in with because they wanted to try their experimental anxiety medication. And I didn't know how things worked back then. I didn't realize I was going to be part of an experiment, or I just didn't realize that. I was just ignorant as can be. I definitely understand now. So after seeing the doctor for a while, I already started getting a bad vibe. It just, you could tell that she just didn't have it together. She dressed badly. She wore clogs to see me, and nothing. I love clogs and stuff like that. But when you go to see your doctor, at least fix your hair up or something. Anyways, so after seeing her a couple times, one Friday I think, or Thursday or Friday. This is after maybe a month or two had gone by. I had called and left a voicemail for the resident doctor to get a prescription refill. That's how I've always done it with a doctor. And you're supposed to call like a couple days ahead of time or something, and you go pick up your medicine. Well, I'm not sure at this point, and I shouldn't say this now, so I'll probably leave it to mention later on. But I think there was another individual with my same name, possibly, or she just didn't file away the paperwork that would tell her what milligram I was taking. Anyways, so I go there, and the prescription is not ready. So I'm like, wow, okay. So let me sit and wait. And that's how I recall it. So they tell me the prescription's not ready. So I believe I sit in the waiting room and I'm waiting for it, and I wait a pretty long time, and then the resident doctor comes out, and I think she gave me the prescription or something, and she was meeting with somebody. She had a patient, so I think she was annoyed, I guess, but I'm the one that should have been annoyed because she didn't have my prescription ready. But I didn't make a big deal out of it. But she was throwing major attitude, like basically belittling me in the waiting room in front of people that are waiting to see either her or other doctors. And that was, to me, pretty nasty. But you let things slide, and so I take the prescription. I go to the pharmacy, and the pharmacist tells me I don't remember now, I'd have to backtrack, but they tell me something's wrong with the prescription, so they can't fill it. I don't know what it was. So, this is a pretty long drive, so they're like, you need to go get this fixed. So, whatever was wrong with it, I drive all the way back to the hospital. And I mentioned to the front desk that, the prescription's wrong, so I don't know how they contacted her. She was with a patient again, so she was even more annoyed that she had to come fix something on the prescription. So I think after some time went by, she fixed it or tried to fix it. I drive all the way back to the pharmacy, and this isn't any short drive, and the pharmacist tells me they can't fill it because there's something wrong with the prescription again. Reminder now, this is a resident doctor. She's a student. So, she messed up. But she was very nasty about it. She didn't have to handle herself the way that she did, and I'm getting ahead of myself. But, so I go back to the hospital. And this time they contact her, and she is full-blown annoyed. I mean, to the point where she is just standing over me. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself again. I tell the front desk there's something wrong with the prescription. No, yeah, she wrote the milligrams wrong. I think yeah, at that point she fixed it, and I noticed when I took the prescription, I went down to my car and I looked at it, and the dosage is wrong. And I don't want to say if it was too high or too low, because to me it makes no difference. It was wrong. The medication that she had prescribed me at the dose she prescribed me wasn't right on the prescription. So I go back up and inform them that the prescription's wrong. And now the doctor is really annoyed, and she comes marching out of her room, basically almost yelling that, Scott, I have a patient. I have a patient. You're bothering me, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, ma'am, I did everything I was supposed to do. I called you 2 days in advance to get my prescription refilled. You did it wrong. I didn't say this to her, but I'm thinking you did it wrong. I did say that to her, but not all of it. But I'm like, you did it wrong, and I just want you to fix it. The dosage is wrong. And she's like, no, the dosage is not wrong. And I'm like, yes, it is, ma'am. The dosage is wrong. I know what I take, I'm not trying to be mean about this, but it's wrong. And she just states over and over again, it's not wrong. And this is in the waiting room, embarrassing me in front of everybody. I know that she's wrong, but of course everyone around me just thinks I'm a total moron, I guess, because the doctor is always right. Not in this case. Anyways, I'm very bad at telling stories on it. Not stories, but you get my point. So it gets pretty nasty from there. She's belittling me, talking very loud and aggressively while I'm sitting in a chair, just like I am now, with a doctor standing above me, just talking down to me, telling me that, you're an idiot, you don't know what dosage you take. So by then, what choice do I have? My choice is either take the wrong dosage or speak to somebody that can help me square this away, because obviously my doctor's not going to do it. So I asked to speak to whoever is in charge. And so they give me, I think, the head nurse or something like that. I'm not sure who she was. The head nurse, I believe, head RN or something like that. And I go in there and I'm basically telling the lady the situation and what happens. And then this lady, the doctor, comes barging in the room like, wait, I'm not having a meeting here with somebody. You can't just walk in like that. I didn't say that. I may have said it in a kinder way, but, you know, she basically breaks in. I guess by this time she probably realizes that, whoa, I have made a mistake after she had completely gone off on me. So then I guess she goes and meets with the head resident or doctor or whatever. And she says to me she's going to go ahead, or no, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry, you guys. Basically, after I talked to the RN for a while about how this resident doctor has given me the wrong dosage of the medicine, the resident doctor who I'm speaking of basically, I guess, had gone and consulted with somebody and came back, and she still states that the dosage she wrote on the prescription is correct. And by this time, I'm just like, no, you're completely wrong, and I don't want to fuss with her anymore. I just want to get a copy of the prescription so I have evidence, because I wasn't going to let this end like that. I was going to have to show somebody that she messed up, and I didn't. That's the only way I knew to go about it. So after a bit of back and forth, her being nasty with me, not letting me just speak with the head nurse by myself like it was supposed to happen, she comes in and she goes, okay, here's what I'm going to do. The resident doctor said this. She says, I'm going to go ahead and write it for the dosage that you want, just so you can basically get out of here and we'll end our relationship or whatever. To make a long story short, she had gone back to the filing system or her head doctor or whatever and found out that she did screw up, and she didn't want to admit it because by this time all the other resident doctors are lined up outside the door and just listening, trying to figure out, what's going on. And I'm just this guy, that's obviously an idiot because I'm trying to say a doctor has made a mistake, a resident doctor. Anyways, you don't want to hear all that. So she gives me the prescription, and I'm thinking to myself, this is completely screwed up. She wouldn't give me a copy. Oh yeah, I forgot that. I pleaded to get a copy of the wrong prescription she had written. She would not give it to me. Flat out refused it because she knew she had messed up and I would have had proof. Flat out refused it. So she gives me the prescription, and this time it's correct after all the crap that I had to deal with. And what I just told you guys, it comes nowhere close to how it really, really, truly went down. It was really nasty of her the way she did that. And see, there I go with this emotion thing again. I need to just tell you guys what happened, because ultimately I hope to show this to an attorney, and I'm not too good at it. Anyways, so I go and fill the prescription, and I'm pretty upset by now. I got treated really bad. Am I not a patient? I was a patient. She should not have spoken to me like that, regardless if she was right or wrong. She was dead wrong, by the way. So I email. I had her email address. I'm not sure. Yeah, she gave it to me a while back before then to contact her if I needed to mention how the medicine was working or whatever. So I basically send an email, a couple of emails, letting them know I'm pretty darn upset. And I was trying to explain to them in the email, oh yeah, damn it, I forgot to mention a very big part of this. While I was in the head nurse's office after she barged in, and after she had realized she got the dosage wrong and was correcting it, she didn't want me to speak any longer about the situation and threatened to call security on me. Now, mind you, I in no way was being violent, and in no way had I even stood up. I just was sitting in my chair, She looked at me, she goes, Scott, do you want me to call security? By that time, I realized she was getting downright nasty, and she was going to do whatever she had to do to get me out of there and make sure that everyone knew that she was right and that I was wrong. She literally threatened me to call security several times. And before that, I already knew how to handle myself. I was in a hospital setting, psychiatric facility. I'm not going to get out of line, but by that time she had brought up the "I'm gonna call security if you don't be quiet" type deal to hush me up. So by this point, I wasn't able to get the prescription, copy of the prescription to show somebody if I had to. She flat out refused that, and I have witnesses, plenty of witnesses that saw it. I don't know them, but hopefully we could contact them, or I could. So once she threatened to call security several times, I knew it was in my best interest to just get out of there and clear it up once I get out of there. Well, I go to my house. I filled the prescription, go home, and I sent a couple emails. One of which said, "The next time you decide to threaten to call security, quote, for fear of your life, realize that it may change somebody's life or really mess them up." And it did. Now, she obviously would understand what I meant, because why else, in one of my videos I ask you guys, why do people threaten to call security? Why most people threaten to call security for fear of their life. They do. If I had a business and somebody was really, really coming at me, I would threaten to call security, or I would call security, because I actually feared for my life. I guess there's other reasons, but she was well aware of what the email meant. And I even have those emails, I believe, somewhere filed away. Well, the next thing I know, now mind you, she knew that I was not a violent person or anything. The next thing I know, I'm getting these police officers are knocking on my door. So I'm like, whoa, I don't know what's going on, because to me, I hadn't done anything wrong. It hadn't occurred to me that there's something in an email that I sent that sparked, fear in her. She knew what the deal was. She was just getting back at me. So she called an emergency custody order for a simple email that said, it was clearly what I was saying. It was very clear what I was saying. I was saying, the next time you decide to threaten somebody with security for fear of your life, just think about it, some lady. Basically what I said. And I didn't call her a doctor, because at this point she was no doctor to me. So I go to open the door, and as soon as I open the door, my arms are grabbed and I'm pulled straight out of the door violently. I mean, in a manner that's, they were going to do what they had to do to get me out of the door. Now here's my question. What if it wasn't me that answered the door? It was, someone else that lived here or whatever. That's something to me that's kind of important. They should have kind of verified who was answering the door. But, luckily for them, it was me. I'm in my boxers and, a t-shirt, no shoes, and I got handcuffed in front of my entire neighborhood. People are out their windows. Police cars are outside. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. I still didn't really know what the deal was. I figured it was because she didn't like me sending her emails. It didn't dawn on me that she had chosen one of the emails I sent and twisted it around to make it look like, I was saying that you better fear for your life, I'm coming for you. She twisted that all up. Anyways, so I mentioned in my other videos what all happened, but basically from there on, I'm handcuffed in the back of a police car, being escorted to a hospital for an emergency custody order. The same thing Cray Deeds called on his son, because he feared his son might hurt himself. I mentioned in another video what goes on in those situations when you finally get transported to the hospital, what happens. But I'll mention it again really fast. Basically, I get there and they put you through with a nurse that, takes your temperature and takes your blood pressure and all that. But when I came in there, of course I had, when I got out of the police car, I stepped on glass. I had no shoes on, so I stepped on glass or something very sharp. Anyway, so I'm basically limping with no shoes on, boxers, through the parking lot at a hospital with all these people staring at me. I obviously look like I'm a total scumbag, just, judge a book by its cover by looking at me. I looked really nasty, and I looked like I had definitely done something wrong with handcuffs on and with boxers on and no shoes. So I go through the process. They take your temperature and they treat you like crap because the nurses that do the job there, they feel like if somebody's had an emergency custody called on, they're obviously just scumbags. I am so bad at doing this, guys. Hopefully I can get better as I go through it. But they sit me down after I do all the stuff with the nurse, and she was very rude, but I won't mention any of that stuff. They sit me down in a room with, I believe it was 2 police officers and a hospital security guard, doctors and psychologists and all kinds of people that are basically going to come at me for the next 4 to 6 hours in a way that most people wouldn't be able to handle, regardless of what the situation is. So I'm in handcuffs, and I won't go into detail how it's all done, but basically it's very aggressive. The first person that interviews you or starts asking you questions while you're handcuffed in a chair in boxers and no shoes, he's very aggressive. He or she, well, in my case it was a he, was extremely aggressive with the way he interviewed me, and that's by design. And I understand that because they don't have much time to, decide what your fate is. Are you going to the temporary detention order for 72-hour psychiatric assessment, or are they going to let you go home? So they have to get the job done as quickly as possible. By doing so, what they have to do is be very aggressive when they first start, so they can go ahead and get you in the psych ward as fast as possible. I don't remember exactly what this individual said to me, but he was an older man with a mustache and beard, and he asked me something very aggressive. And I guess normally when people are addressed that way, he knows that they flip out, so that was his plan. It was by design, and I didn't realize that until later on. But instead, I was like, whoa, 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 guy, you guys can do bad, bad things to me. I was like, I don't know why I'm in here, but I was like, obviously something has been done where you guys are pretty pissed. And I was like, just realize I'm very scared, and you guys can do bad, bad things to me. I'm in handcuffs and around a bunch of doctors, and I've seen movies. At the time, I was not laughing. So I see his face and his demeanor changes right away. At this point, he's thinking to himself, I'm assuming he's thinking to himself, this guy's not, he's not a harm to anybody. So after he's done, he leaves, and then they bring in another psychologist or another doctor, and they're just basically taking turns on me. They're gangbanging me with crazy questions. Questions that are basically checking my sanity and whether or not I need to be detained for psychiatric assessment. Long story short, there's also a third-party affiliate named Region 10 that comes in, and they basically listen to you, ask you questions to see if you are a harm to yourself or others, because they ultimately have a say in whether or not you can leave or have to stay. I'm going to end this right now, and I'm going to continue it in the next video, because I'm already, you can tell, I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm starting to think maybe I shouldn't even do this, but I'm going to go ahead and post it. So I'm going to end it with this. They bring in more doctors to question me, and by this time, everybody, I can tell, realizes that, I'm not a harm to myself or anybody. I'm just a guy that is in here because some doctor has either made a mistake or has acted in ill will and put me in a situation I should have never been in. I promise you guys that it gets a lot better. Not better, but a lot worse. And probably more interesting. And hopefully I can tell it a lot better than what I've told in the last 25 minutes. But if you want to hear what else happened, I'll post another video later. Thanks a lot, guys.